Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, I am shouting at you this morning. It's Thursday morning and it's 7 a.m. and it's time for Strictly Business. My name is Rich Wallace and you are picking up an episode of Strictly Business on edgetvnetwork.net. We are also streaming live on several platforms. So thank you so much for joining us this morning on an episode of Strictly Business. And we're going to get right to it because we only have a little time to do what we need to do this morning. So one of the things that we want to get back to is what we've been talking about is time management. And I'm getting a lot of information in the chat. After the show, I'm getting phone calls saying, I can't manage my time that way. It doesn't work like that for me. We had an episode where we were talking yesterday and we were going over getting ready to be able to, somebody tell me there's no sound, but I got sound. Okay. The getting ready to work from home. How do you work from home? I got a lot of comments about I don't want to get fully dressed. I don't want to. I'm in my pajamas. I got on my slippers, and we went through 20 minutes yesterday about getting dressed no matter what. About preparing yourself for if the knock on the door comes and say let's go to lunch. You don't have to say, well, let me get my makeup on, or let me get dressed real quick, because you are ready to go. So we've been talking about not getting ready, but being ready. Being ready. If you're working from home, and I got a lot of comments about this yesterday, is you need to be dressed as if you're working and not as if you're lounging. I made a statement yesterday that if you get dressed, you have the mindset that you're working. And I got a lot of disagreements on that. Go, no, I can work all day long in my pajamas and I don't have to get dressed. And I put on a top and I do my Zoom meetings. And I'm like, okay. So how many times do you go and check the clothes in the laundry? How many times do you take them out of the dryer and put them in the washer doing your day-to-day operation? If you're dressed for work, the 8 or 6 or 7 or 4 or 12 hours that you plan on working from home, I suggest that you plan on working and you be ready to work. I don't have to when I leave at 5:30 in the morning to go to the studio to do this show, I'm dressed. And if I decide to do it from home with my computer, I'm also dressed. Or if I'm not doing a show at all and I'm just going to be home, I'm going to sit out by the pool and I'm just going to relax, well, I'm prepared to work. Because for me, I need to be in a work mode to understand what we're doing. So I understand that somebody is telling me now that the advantage of working from home is the pleasure of being in your pajamas. Okay. All right. If that's cool with you, that's cool with me. If you can consistently work, but I've talked to so many people that struggle in working from home because they say, I can't stay focused. I don't know what it is. I just get distracted when I'm at home. Well, when you're in the office, if you have an office outside of your house and you go to that office, you're pretty much focused on what you're doing. Why? Because you're in that office. So if you go to that bedroom that you've turned into an office, or that outside patio that you set up, and you go there, you're at work. So you have to say, I'm at work. I can't go in here and load the dishwasher because I'm at work. So a lot of times you have to stay focused. And for those that can't stay focused at home, that get distracted because the kids are here and this or that or whatever, I suggest that you get dressed. And then that identifies to your kids and your mate and the other people around you that think you're not doing anything, see that you're dressed, and they automatically assume that you're working because you're in your work clothes. And if your work clothes is not a suit and a tie, go get you a shirt and put your name on it, so that's your work shirt. I'm rich and it looked like I'm a mechanic, but I'm at work, so that the people at home and around you can identify that you're at work. So I know I'm beating that up because they're beating me up in the chat talking about, what's best for them, and what's best for you is what's best for you. Always is not what's best for me or what's best for someone else, but strictly business is business. So if you want to do business consistently, I suggest that you be in a business mindset and be prepared for whatever's coming your way that day. Now, um, one of the things about business people, and I am a victim of this truly, truly, most entrepreneurs don't take vacations. They don't set time aside for relaxation and even family. Well, I took 2 or 3 days off, but I did the yard. I caught up with all my honeydews, all of my chores around the house because it was getting crazy. So I took a couple of days off and I took my vacation days. But did you go on vacation? Did you find a time to relax? Did you find a time to go away? I'm a victim of using conferences and business expos for my vacation. So when I travel, I'm usually going to a conference. I'm in DC for 4 days next week. And I said, well, it's going to be a vacation. I enjoy going to DC. I'll go to the museum, but I'm actually there for the Congressional Caucus. So I'm networking with people. I'm doing my work. I'm doing this. I'll get back to my hotel room. I chill out. I have a son that lives in DC, so I'll do a drive-by. I'm bad at doing drive-bys. I'll go by and go, hey, how y'all doing? I came to see you. It's on vacation, but I'm here for a conference. So I actually leave and go to my conference and work my conference for those 2 or 3 days. I go to Chicago once a year. I'm at a conference. I'm like, I go to Chicago all the time, but I usually don't get outside of the hotel or the convention center, from the hotel to the convention center. So I find a reason to work. So what I'm telling you now is that you got to find a reason to vacate. You got to find a reason to stop for a week or two. It's kind of like your car. If you don't fill it up with gas, or if you got an electric car, if you don't plug it up so it can take a break, so it can get refueled, and be able to take off and do some things that you need to do. Got a young lady on this morning. Bonnie loves travel. So that sounds like Bonnie just travels, but she loves travel. She loves making it for other people to be able to travel so that you can get out. And even in your travel, even in your vacation, I have a friend of mine, and he says when they vacate or go on vacation, his wife doesn't let him wear the t-shirts of his business. So because or his hat that says the name of his business, because that's a reason to network. That's a reason to. And I'm that guy that no matter where you are, you should be going, hey, how you doing? What do you do? I'm with the Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm with this company and I'm with that company. I do this, I do that. But I'm on vacation, but I'm trying to pay for that vacation while I'm on vacation. And I think that's an excuse to work. So I got somebody that's coming on after our commercial break that's going to tell me that that's just an excuse for work, and how to vacation, how to be able to be prepared to go on vacation, and then maybe even suggestions of what you can do when you get bored, because a business entrepreneur is always working. That is their excitement and drive. So how do you refuel that drive? We're going to tell you right after this commercial break. My name's Rich Wallace, and you have joined into an episode of Strictly Business. And thank you so much for coming on this morning, and we will be right back.
One of the secrets to exposure for your business lies within supporting Black businesses and entrepreneurs. And that is why the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce is here, to connect Black businesses from the desert to the sea. Let's join hands to empower and sustain our community. By becoming a member of the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce, you can grow your business and increase your clientele. With our innovation, we'll generate new businesses and get new customers. And we'll connect new mindsets with businesses from across Southern California to help bridge the wealth gap. Let's connect, build, and grow together. Join us now at blackchamberofcommerce.org.
And we are back, and we are here this morning. I'm going to be bringing in Miss Bonita, but I've been calling her Bonnie because Bonnie loves travel. So we want to find out how that name change came about and what's going on with that. So let's bring her in and let's find out how to relax. I know I'm on you about working, I'm on you about time management, but this morning we're going to talk about how to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnie Loves Travel.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
And,
Thank you
and
very
thank
much.
you. Thank you for bouncing up this morning and coming on our show. And so we're going to get right into it. And our people that I'm constantly telling them to work, 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 work. This is what you need to do. Okay. Stop, time out. Miss Bonnie, tell us about Bonnie Loves Travel and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for having me today. And I'm going to tell you this really quickly. I was listening to what you were talking about with working from home because my business is home based,
Okay.
my travel business. And I've fallen victim to the pajamas and all of that kind of stuff. And I will totally agree with you. I know some people are not popular with my idea of working in your pajamas. I do totally agree. It's important for you to get dressed and get up as if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business. Working from home is some people call it a luxury, but at the same time, you do have to treat it as your business as it is. So with that, I've had to get up and learn to get dressed. What I do have the luxury of in my building that I live in is that we have a conference room here, and I was not taking advantage of it. And so, what I ended up starting to do is I get dressed and I actually leave my condo and I go down to the conference room and I work from there a couple days a week.
Okay.
And I have a home office, but it makes a big difference when I'm away from the TV, I'm away from all the other distractions, and it does make a difference in your business. So I wanted to start off by saying that. And I know you didn't ask me about that, but I wanted to throw that out there. So I totally agree with you. And it has made the distractions have minimized significantly when I take the time to actually work my business in an environment fully dressed. Let me say that.
Well,
Um,
thank you for co-signing on that because you've been
exactly.
wearing
So,
me out.
right, exactly. That's me.
Yeah.
So, what I will say is that Bonnie Loves Travel is my love. Bonnie is my nickname. My name is Bonita, which is Spanish for beautiful. And during the time when my mother was pregnant with me, she was taking Spanish classes.
Okay.
And she learned that the name Bonita meant beautiful. And so that ended up being my name. So that's how I got that. But my nickname has been Bonnie from childhood. And so I love travel. So when I started my business, I thought the proper name would be Bonnie Loves Travel, which is very true. And
Okay.
so that's how the name came about. My business started in 2015, and it actually was an action of me retiring.
Mm.
I uh, worked for the Department of Corrections. I was a manager for the parole department for 30 years.
Oh,
And I retired in 2015. I started my business about 6 months before I retired, and I didn't work it initially. I started it, but it was kind of like a secret business I was doing. And then eventually I was able to just decide I wanted to buckle down and get really serious with my business and get it up and moving. And I literally just started my business by traveling myself. Before I
okay.
started booking trips for clients or trying to get clients, I really, in the beginning, was literally just traveling. And I was posting on Facebook and Instagram and all those kind of things. And people started asking me, well, how are you there? Or how are you able to go there? Well, can you set me up to go there? Well, how does that work? And so it just became a situation where I started literally, my business flourished with me just moving around and traveling myself. Um, but I have been traveling since, since my early 20s. And what was happening was because I was traveling myself and friends and family would know that I was traveling, they would ask me, can you set a trip up for us to go or for me to go? And I was like their travel agent, but I wasn't getting paid. And that
No.
was going on for years, doing it for family trips and for groups. And I was always the coordinator. I don't even know how it actually fell on me for years and years and years. And I started thinking when I got ready to retire, and I was you know, uh, that was 7 years ago. I've been retired now 7 years. But I started thinking, what can I do in order to have a business And I knew I didn't want to stop working completely, but I wanted to work for myself. I was always wanting to be an entrepreneur. I've owned other businesses in the past, and this just kind of almost fell naturally for me. So that's how I started my business. I did some research, and I was able to just, slowly just get my proper credentials and everything in place so that I could get my business started.
Okay, now, and I tell people all the time, and you just kind of co-sign on another thing, is that showing up is half the job. When you
I
started
agree.
traveling yourself and you realize that, okay, I'm showing up and I'm doing this and I'm going over here, and the pitfalls, the goods and the bad of traveling, you learn to experience them yourself so that you could basically cut down on the problems that your guests may be having. But
Exactly.
and,
Exactly.
and in all of that, I always tell people that, because people will come to me and they go, I want to start a business, but I don't know what I want to do. And I don't know what I want to do. And it's kind of like your gift will make room for you.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened in your case, is that you were gifted in traveling. You tried it for yourself and you go, okay. And people will recognize automatically how great you are at a particular thing. And you can tell that because they will be asking you questions about that, whatever that is. How do I do this? Or how do I do that? And they'll come to you. And unfortunately, family, friends, and those people will come because it's free, you know.
Right. Right. Right.
So when you start charging, it's 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 a bad process for family, but they go someplace else. I used to own restaurants, and my family would come and eat there for free a lot. But when they had money and they got their check on Friday, I would see them at another restaurant. I'm like,
Wow.
guys are over here, and I got that you don't want to eat. Well, we tired of eating your food, but you was eating my food for free, so you have to be able to distinguish, especially with family, that this is a business.
Right.
This is what I do to feed my family, to pay my mortgage. This is the things that I do to do that. And then I know it's a difficult process for family because they want to hook up, you
Yeah.
know, they want the hookup. And once they get the hookup, it's hard to get them unhooked from that.
Right. You're right.
So in dealing with travel and because it is a relaxation kind of thing, how is it that you're able to, because once people travel with you, and I met you, we become friends, we become family, you
It's
know,
true.
uh, and you my girl. So how my home girl gonna do this to me, when it comes to charging? How do you deal with that?
So, for me, because actually it's a little bit easier for me than maybe for other businesses, because as people know, travel isn't free, right? Even if you don't want to pay me my fee, whatever that fee I decide that fee is, or whatever that fee is, it's not free for you to actually get on a plane.
Right.
You know it's not free for you to actually stay in that hotel or go to that resort. It's going to cost something. So the luxury that I have is, and I shouldn't tell my little secret, I'm able to make sure that that fee includes that price for that resort or that airline ticket or train trip that we're doing includes me getting my pay.
Okay. Okay. So,
So they may not know exactly what my pay is for that trip, but I make sure that I'm taken care of. So that is a luxury that I have in the business that I have,
okay.
is being able to make sure that I'm good as far as that's concerned. Now, one thing I will say is that my mother travels with me. We are actually taking a Cabo San Lucas trip in October. I mean, sorry, in November. And I've taken her on trips, and I pay for my mom. I don't charge my mom anything, and I make sure that she's taken care of. But I actually haven't had that problem too much. Honestly, people really will pay what it costs to go wherever that is. And I do make sure that, you know uh my immediate family, my brother, and that I do make sure that they get the best pricing that I can give them. And sometimes I don't make a profit
Mhm.
from what they're giving me, but I do get paid commission, so I will get paid something.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so I work it out that way, and it hasn't been a big problem. My really good friends, they want to go, so they'll pay whatever it takes to go, and that's me being able to brand myself and make my business valuable to everyone, including my close friends and family. So that hasn't been a big problem for me, and I'm blessed in that way.
Well, I want to say that November is my birthday month. So if you and your mom need a third, somebody to carry the bag,
Come to Cabo with us.
holler at me, because I'll carry the bags. I'll be the butler. I'll do whatever I need to do to roll with you. So
Yes.
now let's talk about what I need to travel.
Okay.
We were mentioning the new ID thing, and I got a driver's license. I let my passport, this is me, I let my passport expire, because I wasn't going anywhere, and it just kind of sit in the drawer, and I didn't think about it. And then during the pandemic, I even thought about it less.
Yes.
So now it's 2, maybe even 3 years old, So I got to start over, I think, to get my passport. And then I thought, well, let me wait and go get the real ID. But how do you know anything about how that real ID process goes?
So with the real ID, and states came into the real ID at different times as far as when it was required to have the real ID. There were 9 states that were required to have the real ID in 2019, even prior to COVID. California, our date was initially October of 2020, and they've extended the deadline twice. And now the deadline for California to have the real ID is May 1st of 2023. They continue to extend it for us in California because during COVID, the DMV was sketchy with the hours and closed and back and forth. And then people didn't have the opportunity to get the documents that they needed. So the real ID is now required for 15 states that you have to travel with in order to get on any type of airline, trains, any of those, even domestically. And this is domestic travel. You have to have that real ID to get on an airplane. For 15 states. California, like I said, it's going to be May 1st of 2023. So I totally recommend, if you haven't gotten your real ID as of yet, that you get to your local DMV and get that done. Now, in order to get your real ID, you're going to have to have a certified copy of your birth certificate. They will not allow you to apply for that real ID without that certified copy of your birth certificate or a valid passport. You can use that in place of your birth certificate for the real ID. You also are going to have a copy of a utility bill, a cable bill, something that establishes your residence where you say you live. You will not be able to get your real ID without those documents. So far, we talked about a birth certificate, a certified copy, and also a copy of some type of evidence as to where you live. You can't just say I live on 8th Street or Main Street. You're going to have to actually show something that you received mail at that address.
Wow.
In your name. Yeah, you got to take that with you. You also, and right now the California DMV is allowing you to upload those documents online so that when you go in for your appointment, all of those things are already in place for you, and they can take that picture and issue that real ID. So in order for you to travel domestically, you're going to have that real ID. They will not allow you on a plane, on the Amtrak train, or any of those public transportation that you need an ID for. Now, internationally, I always recommend to everyone, including you, Mr. Rich, that you keep that passport from expiring.
So now wait a minute. With the real ID, I don't need a passport, right?
Yes, sir, you do. To
You
travel
do?
internationally, you still need that passport. That real ID does not take the place of your passport for international travel. That's outside of the United States. It is only good for domestic abilities. That's a United States requirement.
Okay.
It is not a requirement for any international country. You still have to have that passport.
Okay.
So I totally recommend you getting that passport renewed. And even if it's been expired for 3 years, as long as you've had a passport, you can it's still considered a renewal when you go back and get that passport renewed. But I totally recommend. I cannot tell you the number of people that, like you, thought maybe that Real ID was going to be enough of what they needed to get on that international trip. And it is not. I've had people show up, not for me, but I've talked to some other agents because I'm really diligent about making sure that they have that passport before I can book that international trip or set that trip up for them. But and even if I book a trip for anyone and you don't have your passport, just like I was telling you before we took this call, I have someone that's planning on traveling with me next May, and I just sent her passport information this morning so she can get that passport done. And I won't finalize her trip until she has the passport, but we're going to get the process started for her. And so with that, I recommend that you keep that passport from expiring. And you can get your passport renewed up to 6 months prior to it expiring. You can go in and just get the process going. And you can renew your passport at your local post office.
That was my next question. The passport doesn't come from the DMV, it comes from the post office?
Correct. The post office is your conduit to get your passport renewed. Although every Cal State University in California has a passport office on the campus.
Oh.
My uncle and aunt, they just got their passports renewed on the campus at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and they get the process set up for them. Cal State Long Beach, which is my alma mater, has a passport office on campus. And I have a cruise going in February for the Super Bowl, and I'm doing donations to Long Beach Veterans Voice. And so a lot of the veterans have reached out, and they're out of the Long Beach chapter of where I'm donating to, and I've been able to send them over to the Cal State Long Beach campus to the passport office to get their passports renewed. But what I was going to say also with passports, effective January of 2023, you're going to be able to get your passport renewed online. You won't have to physically go anywhere. They're going to let you upload your documents, and you're going to be able to get that process done online, which is going to be phenomenal for a lot of people. That the barrier for them was having to actually go into that passport office, and you'll be able to upload your passport photos and everything, which I think is something that's well past time with all the technology we have of securing documents, that the federal government has decided to make this a reality. So that's going to be fantastic. And I'm sorry, excuse my call.
And that's very good information, because a lot of everyday folks that really don't travel a lot are kind of confused about the Real ID. Why do I need it? If there's an emergency and you have to fly to Dallas or Houston or something for a funeral, or just to go visit family at a reunion, you must have that Real ID to get on that plane to just travel to Arizona. And I didn't realize that you need it for a train as well, or maybe even the bus. I don't know. But a lot of people don't know, or did not know until you said that, where to get a passport at. I was having a conversation about travel, and they go, well, where do you get the passport at? And I'm like, well, post office. And we have a lot of young people turning grown people now, and they never had a passport, or if they did, their parents did it for them. So, and I'm finding out when my young people became young adults that I had not instructed them on a lot of little things that you just kind of take for granted.
Yes.
So when they looked and go, well, where do you get the passport at? In the post office. And they go, well, why would you go to the post office? And a lot of the young entrepreneurs or young workers, I say 19 to 30, have never been to a post office.
Wow.
So why would I go to the post office? Because they got, people picking up their mail, and, and they do the Uber, they have so much convenient stuff that they're not familiar with actually going to a post office, and they buy their stamps online, and they do this online, the packages, or somebody picks them up at the house. And so all of the convenience that the younger generation is been exposed to. They've not been exposed to standing in line. You
Yes,
know?
yes, actually waiting for things.
Yeah, actually waiting for things. So,
Uh-huh.
and I know you said that you're sending people. So you also, if I decide to take a trip, you let me know of which documents I'm going to need. Because when you take, a 3-day cruise to Mexico, do I need a passport? Because I'm just going to Mexico for 3 days
So
trip, and because I can drive to Mexico, and
yes,
do I
and
need a
you need
passport?
a passport to go over the border to Mexico
Oh,
as well, by the way.
oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, so now, and that's something that the US started with the passports to Mexico about 15 years ago. So
Mm,
what's happening is that with Mexico, because they're our border state here in California, and it borders Arizona and
yeah.
Texas, and you know, Canada is our border state as well. So the rules are the same to go into Canada. But what I will say is, what's happening is there's two different types of passports, and there's a passport card that
Mm,
you can get. And with the passport and the passport card, so a lot of people get confused about needing a passport and a passport card. I personally don't have a passport card. It costs you a little bit extra to get that passport card. And what that passport card is used for, if you're going over the border, there are people that live in Mexico and work in California,
mm,
and those are people that cross that border probably every day, several times a week. They might work in San Diego or right on one of those those US border cities in Texas. A lot of them will drive over, and Canada on the upper side. So the passport card is something that they can apply for and receive, and they can use that to do those daily back and forth trips if you're a commuter. Or people, the truck drivers, a lot of those have those passport cards coming back and forth because they work along the border states or in coming back and forth. But if, as a person that's going in to visit Mexico, a person that's going in to spend time in Mexico, I have to have a passport to drive over that border. They will
mm.
stop you, they will check your passport. If you don't have it, they will turn you around. If
Really?
you want to get on a flight, you have to have that actual passport. The passport card will not work at the airport. I don't care if you're commuting every day on that flight to Mexico, you have to have that passport. Same thing with going into Canada. I've driven from Detroit or going over into Michigan, over into Windsor, Canada. I had to have that passport to go over there to visit Canada. And that was right before COVID when I did that. So yes, I do let my clients know prior to travel, prior to me booking the trip for them, what they're going to need in order to take that trip, whether it's a cruise, whether it's flying to a location and spending time, and that includes COVID restrictions.
Mm,
That's another thing that I've had to add to my business portfolio and business every day, is to be able to let people know what the rules are, restrictions, and anything that have to do with COVID as well. That's been very important, and that's an added thing as far as vaccinations, if that's needed. That's a whole nother, because each country now has their different rules. Even states at one point was coming up with different rules, and even getting on a plane and returning from certain states or certain countries, I have to make sure that my clients know what's required, whether the real ID is required, because depending on what state they're traveling from, the real ID is already required.
mm. So now, okay, let's chat about COVID for just a second, because you threw me on that one. Uh, some people decided not to take any shots.
Correct.
Some people just took one shot. Is there a flat rule on COVID testing, traveling domestic or even overseas? Is there, because they had rules, but I thought they lifted all those rules, and I'm not saying COVID is gone, but they're treating it like it's gone.
So
Or is it just my imagination?
some countries are treating it like it's really still here.
Mm,
Some countries now, domestically within the United States, the last place that finally lifted their COVID restrictions to travel was Hawaii.
mm,
Hawaii was one of our strictest COVID states up until about 4 months ago, when they finally lifted their requirement to enter their state to have COVID vaccination. And if you weren't vaccinated, you still had to, everybody had to register in a Hawaii system, their health system, in order to be granted permission to travel and enter Hawaii up until 4 months ago. You had to be vaccinated. And if you weren't vaccinated, you had to present a COVID test uploaded into their system within 48 hours of traveling into Hawaii. They just lifted those restrictions. It's been about 3 or 4 months. But domestically now in the United States, you don't have to have COVID vaccination to travel.
Okay.
Back and forth. And that's literally something within the last few months that every state has lifted those restrictions. Although there are still, states are still giving their municipalities within the state the ability to make decisions. So different counties within certain states still are requiring for you to show vaccination to enter their establishment.
I
So
know.
that's really important that you do that research, or that you, if you're working with a travel agent, which I hope you are, then that's a question that make sure that your travel agent gives you the information about. And that's part of what my job is, to make sure that you have that information. Now, internationally, I'm going to tell you that different countries are handling COVID very differently. Jamaica just recently lifted their requirement for you to register in their health system before you could enter that country. And their requirement on, they had what they call a travel tourist corridor, that you were only allowed to travel within this tourist corridor when you entered their country. You couldn't go outside of that, and you had to upload a tracking system so that if you decided to travel outside of that corridor, they knew that you were traveling outside of that corridor.
Wow.
And they would send you a text message or an email and tell you to go back into the tourist corridor. They literally just lifted that restriction about a month ago. There's still some countries, Greece is still requiring vaccination. And when they say vaccination, some countries have given full vaccination, and you have to have both shots done within 14 days of entering that country. And that's what they consider full vaccination. They haven't really tapped on the booster so much in other countries, but the first and second shot have to be fully completed for the vaccination process. So please, that's why I totally recommend, and of course I'm biased, I totally recommend that before you start that travel, please talk to a travel consultant, talk to a travel agent. Most travel agents, and I'm going to speak for myself, we don't charge fees for you to work with us. I don't charge fees. I get paid commission from booking that travel for you, and let me do the heavy lifting for you and give you all those rules and make sure you have all that information. And I will set that trip up for you, give you your full itinerary, and I will be able to be the one to do the research for you so that you don't have to do all of that. All you have to do is let me know where you want to go, when you want to go, how much you want to spend, and I'm going to make sure you get set up with what you need.
Okay, now let's go back, because you mentioned a few times travel agents. Now, I used to travel quite a bit. I still travel some, but I used to travel a lot. I always dealt with the travel agents, and it seemed to me that travel agents disappeared. So there used to be a travel agency office, like liquor stores, on almost every corner, and they're gone now, because I can go to cheapticket.com, I can go to over here, and I really don't like booking my tickets online because I'm old and I get confused on my trip to DC right now. I have not bought my ticket yet because I went online and I looked at 2 tickets, and I looked at somebody else, and I looked at Travelocity, and I got so much information that it was just like, oh God, because my original plan was I was going to fly from Ontario to DC, stay there 3 or 4 days, go from DC to Dallas, stay there a couple of days, and then come back. It used to be real simple. I'd call a travel agency, or I'd call the airline. You can't talk to the airlines now. And if you do, they want $20 extra, just for talking to you, to tell you how to book the ticket. So it got so complicated that I'm like, okay, let me just wait. And now it's the last minute, and it's everybody say, "Oh, you wait till the last minute, you're gonna pay more for the ticket," you know. And I'm thinking, okay, I should have booked. I've known I was going since January. I know the dates of where I'm traveling to, you know. So, but it's just the seniors, the older people have struggled with this online booking service, and the travel agency was in the neighborhood then. You
Yeah.
know, I could find you, but I have to go or either meet you at one of the chamber meetings like we did, like you and I met, or other places, because I can't just pull up a local travel agency. What do I, you know, if I don't know a travel agency, do I Google? How do I find a travel agency today?
So I will say, first of all, let's talk about the neighborhood travel agent, right, that you used to work with in order to get your trips done for you. So what's happened is the brick and mortars have pretty much the internet, the availability of the internet and people having access to logging in and finding what they need as far as a travel agent, and trip booking their own trips, has the brick and mortar has kind of pretty much disappeared. You still have the brick and mortars like the AAAs, because AAA does travel. You still have Costco, but that's even not even brick and mortar. That's online if you travel through Costco. So what's happened is online travel agents have replaced the brick and mortars. You're going to be hard pressed to find a brick and mortar anymore to be able to walk into. So I do understand that that's an issue for some of the older folks or people that are just used to having that place that they can just walk in and get done what they need on the spot. The internet has taken over. So what I recommend, and most of my business, I'm going to say this, comes from referrals. Most of my business comes from me either advertising. I have a huge online presence, on Instagram, on social media. If you Google my name, Bonnie Loves Travel, you'll see my business come up. But you have to know about me first, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, sorry. What I was going to say is that's why I have to show my value as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a travel business owner. My value is, my job is to make sure that those tickets are taken care of. I'm going to mute this for a second.
We're gonna take a break here so you can get a shot of water, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to change your life? Let us help you. At Youth Build Charter School, you can get a high school diploma and kickstart your dream career in no time. We offer high school diploma programs in construction, CNA, military, college, and entrepreneurship. If you are between the age of 16 and 24 and you want to manage your studies with a job, recover your credits, or graduate early, we can help you achieve your dream. Call us at 1-888-395-4408 or visit youthbuildinlandempire.org.
One of the secrets to exposure for your business lies within supporting Black businesses and entrepreneurs. And that is why the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce is here, to connect Black businesses from the desert to the sea. Let's join hands to empower and sustain our community. By becoming a member of the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce, you can grow your business and increase your clientele. With our innovation, we'll generate new businesses and get new customers. And we'll connect new mindsets with businesses from across Southern California to help bridge the wealth gap. Let's connect, build, and grow together. Join us now at blackchamberofcommerce.org.
All right, we're back. We're back.
Thank you.
Back. And I am here with Bonnie Loves Travel. This is Rich Wallace, and you have joined an episode of Strictly Business this morning on a Thursday morning. Is it Thursday? Yes, Thursday morning
Yes,
at 7 a.m. We are on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings at 7 a.m. on quite a few streaming platforms, and we are so glad that you decided to be a part of us this morning. And we are talking about relaxation. I know we've been talking about business, get your act together, get your paperwork together. I'm beating up on you on this. And today I'm saying, take a minute, step back, and let's do some traveling. Miss Bonnie, is there, when you set up the travel, we were talking about travel agencies and how hard it is. In fact, my son is coming from DC to California in November, and it's 4 of them. And they're doing what I do, what most people do now. They're looking online to find out what's the best ticket and all of these different things. When we were talking about the neighborhood travel agent, that was so convenient. To me, that was way more convenient because I like talking to a person. I travel a lot of times I'm going to mention the airline Southwest because I can talk to a person, and the rest of them don't have a person that you could actually talk to for free, because that's $25 extra because I'm going to help you fly. I'm going to help you spend money with me, but it costs you $25 extra for me to help you. So now I want to go back to the travel agency, but I also want to find out, do you do what I guess the word is excursions? Once I get to Chicago, okay, what do I do? What a soul food restaurant at? Where, how do you help with that? So I got two questions on the table: the travel agency, and do you help with once I get there? Okay, what do I do?
Okay, so I'm going to finish with the other one regarding the travel agency. So, a part of my business and the value that I bring is just like you were saying. Sometimes you can go online and you can get a little overwhelmed. You have all of these Expedias and cheap tickets. And why would you come to Bonnie Loves Travel instead of going to Expedia? There's a lot of younger folks, they just get those fingertips moving. But I tell you, I bring value in that. Number one, you can get me live. You have access to me, just like you were saying. You like being able to call the airline and finding out what they have available and getting that ticket booked. A lot of those agencies, Expedia and the rest of them, I'm just in case you and your audience don't know, if you try to call Expedia without just going online or cheap tickets and just booking that ticket, as soon as you get them on the phone, they're adding fees onto whatever that ticket was going to cost you, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they might not even tell you, they're just adding the fees on. So the value in dealing with me and making sure that I weed those tickets out for you, I tell you exactly what's available. All you have to do is let me know what it is you want. I want to be in Washington, D.C. by 10 a.m. on this date, and I need to come back home by this date, or I don't want to fly any later than 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Whatever works for you, I can get you that. I can narrow that down for you. I do the research, give you what you want, tell you the pricing, help you, you make sure you pay for it, and I send you your ticket. It's literally that simple. But that's the value that I bring. And if something goes wrong, something comes up, something changes, try to get Expedia, cheap tickets, try to get those people back on the phone. You're going to stay on hold for an hour. You're going to get transferred to 3 different people. And then what's going to happen is the airline is going to say, you're dealing with a third party. You can't even call the airline directly to get anything done. So I totally, of course, I'm biased. I recommend you work with the travel agent. Doesn't matter how small or big that trip is, work with me. And that way you have access to me. You can call me and say, hey, Bonnie, listen, I want to change that date. I can't travel that date after all. I need to change it to this date. My conference ended early. I want to come home a day earlier. And all you have to do is let me know and I can take care of that for you. So I bring value. Now, as far as excursions, I totally pride myself on setting up excursions. My daughter and I, for our birthdays for last year, we were both born in September, we did a trip to Washington, D.C. I had taken her when she was about 13 to tour the Capitol and see our Capitol and all that kind of stuff. But we went back again last year for her 31st birthday. And I set up excursions for us the whole time. We actually took a tour about for African Americans and our role in the building of Washington, D.C. and the Capitol. And it was fantastic. It was historical. Our tour guide was very knowledgeable. So I set up excursions domestically. I set up tours and excursions internationally. I give you restaurant recommendations based on what your interest is and what type of food you like. Whatever it is you need, my job is to make sure that I can give you the information and set it up for you if you need me. But those excursions, I do them all day. I'm working with a huge group of Deltas right now on a big trip for their Delta bursary for December in Cancun. And I literally just set up a yacht for them to have a private yacht to celebrate for their group for one of the days, as well as that transportation to and from that yacht for them to have their celebration on. So, of course, I bring value. And I make sure that all of those parameters are set for you, and that you have all the information you need to travel with. I pride myself. I just took a big group to Dubai. And one thing that I got over and over again from my clients and friends, and which, like you said, they do become friends and they send their family and friends to me so that I can make sure that they're taken care of. But one thing that they said to me that I really appreciated was literally, we got to Dubai before all we had to do was bring our suitcases. Everything was taken care of. We just needed to know what time to be where.
Okay. Yeah. When you were in DC, did you get a chance to go to the African American Museum?
I sure did.
And
I actually went about 3 months after it initially opened. I think it was 2017 or 16, whatever year it opened. I had a chance to go then. So this was my third trip with my daughter, and she got a chance to see it for the first time. And we did it. We had a fabulous day at the museum. It's beautiful, and I can make sure that in that tour that we did with the gentleman for our history in Washington D.C. specifically, and how our ancestors built the Capitol, right? Uh, he, as a part of that tour, we got tickets to go into the museum for later on that day and tour the museum as well. So it was a second part of the tour was to go into the museum.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah.
As Bonnie Loves Travel, you've let me know, so I wanted to stay in the chat, or I'll call you after this and book my travel.
Absolutely, I got you.
I'm gonna call my son in DC so that because they haven't booked their flight yet, we're still trying to get the dates together.
Okay.
We I lost one of my sons a couple of years back.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And since then, we've decided, my other children and my grandchildren, that we would get together once a year, because sometimes with family, you're so busy and you're so spread it out and you're so much doing this and everybody's trying to be successful and everybody's trying to do this, that you don't get a chance to reconnect, and you only reconnect or see each other at funerals.
Yeah.
And you promise at the funeral that we're going to get together again.
Right.
And I don't see you again to the next funeral. So we've made a solid decision, even based upon the finances, that we would pool some money together to make sure that all of the grandkids and the kids, we come together in one spot. And we're looking to do something in November here in the Southern California region. And even though, and I used to have a big house, but when everybody left, I downsized.
Yes, yes.
So that I don't need all that room. So, but now they're coming once a year. It's like, okay, now we're renting hotel rooms, and people are sleeping on the floor. And now I got young married couples that don't want to sleep on the floor, that don't want to be, that want their own privacy while they're here.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. So we're trying to figure that out so that we don't lose time together, because if they get a room, they get up late, they come over. But if everybody's in one big house, which we've thought about a couple times, that breakfast is rolling at 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning and everybody's kind of getting up, which is what we're trying to figure out now. Should we go rent a big house and spend a bunch of money, or how does those kinds of things work? So at Bonnie Loves Travel, when I start talking to you about what our plans are, you can go into your travel mind and figure something out for us. And that, even though I live here and they're from here and all of that kind of stuff, that Bonnie Loves Travel can help you with your family reunions. Because there's a lot of people traveling and you don't think about it. Well, I'm just going to Dallas, let me go online and buy a ticket, Southwest lands in Love Field and I can get a ticket over there. But what I found out, even in my short travel, I've gotten to place, I've never been to an airport and not be able to get a rent-a-car, So you can't find rent-a-cars now. You really got to plan to pick up a rent-a-car. So I was in Dallas, my home, where I know, and I could not find a rent-a-car at DFW, at Love Field, at even the little rent-a-car shops around town, was not able to get a rent-a-car. But I kind of wanted to rent a car. I kind of didn't. But if I had called Bonnie's Love Travel, you would have talked
got
to
that
me.
set up for you.
You got it set up for me.
I absolutely had it waiting for you at the airport.
Would have talked me through it. And I'm giving you all of these things because I know that there's people out there that travel right now that are on Expedia or whatever those sites are to say, okay, because we believe we're saving money. Are we saving money? Because that's what I believe. If I go to Cheap Tickets and I see, am I saving money, or did they just look and find the best possible value for me because they can put it in the computer and the computer can shoot out which airlines rates and all of this kind of stuff, because they give you on one side, this is what Frontier charges, this is what Southwest charges, and all of that, and I can pick. So does Bonnie Love Travel give me those options? Do I save money with a travel agent?
So we had a group of travel agents. We're on a blog together and we talk back and forth. So what I will say is, yes, there is times that I can save you and I can make sure that you get the best deal. And that's a part of what my job is. I take you on as a client. I'm going to look out for you. That's a part of what I do. And so that's the good thing about dealing with me is you have a personable person you're dealing with. And you know what, if I go to Bonnie, she's going to get me the best deal I can get. Or she's going to make sure that I get what I want for the best price that I can get it for. Because there's people that have parameters about what they want. And it may not be the least expensive, but it may be the best way for you to go that works for you.
Right.
So that's a part of what I do as well. What I will say about your family traveling, my head is already turning. So you guys contact me. I'll give you some options about ideas that I use for people coming and visiting, maybe the not necessarily the least expensive, but the best way for you guys to get together. And it may be the least expensive way, but I give you options so that you and your family can review what works best for you. And the one thing I'd like to say as well is, as far as the travel agency is concerned, and traveling, I recommend that people take a rest and relaxation trip at least once a year. I know that as entrepreneurs, I'm an entrepreneur, as crazy as this sounds, I escort a lot of groups year round, several times a year to beautiful locations, but I'm working during those times. I am on the grind working. I'm making sure that everybody's okay, that their rooms are good, that, the excursions are set up. So I'm running around working. So even though I'm in a beautiful oasis of places to travel to, I'm still working. So I have to stop and take my own vacation in order to actually get that rest for myself. So a couple of times a year, I actually take trips that have nothing to do with business, that I'm literally having to do that for myself. And one thing I can say, statistically, you guys, for your children, for your grandchildren, for yourself, people remember experiences over things. Those things you never forget, that trip that grandpa or grandma took you on to that beautiful place and had that time for you away from their cell phone, away from the television, away from their office, working during the convention time. They remember those things, and that's stuff that you can never, ever take back. But a gift, a toy, whatever that was, they break, they get old, they tarnish, whatever happens. But those experiences are something that are never forgotten. So, and that's been my own experience. And I hear that from clients all the time. Take that trip, take that time away to see about yourself, relax your mind and rejuvenate, and it'll make your business even stronger. Promise you.
Well, Miss Bonnie, it's time for us to go.
Yes.
I've spent an hour with you and it's been a pleasure. I've got some things a lot of our chamber members are saying, maybe she could plan something for the chamber. I see that couple of times. So maybe it's something that we have to sit down and talk about 2023. But I want to, if I plan something for the chamber, it's a conference going to be somewhere tied to it. You know, we got to have a meeting.
Well, I understand, but
you know,
we're gonna have some fun too. So
we're gonna have some fun too. We're gonna have a
okay.
meeting. So thank you so much for being a part of Strictly Business this morning. I appreciate you coming on, and take the vacation, everyone. What you should have got out of this was take a break.
Take a break.
And when you take the break, call Bonnie Loves Travel so you can have your ID, so you can have your travel plans, and you can have your excursions, and you can be on a real vacation. This has been Rich Wallace with Strictly Business on Edge TV Network. Thank you, Miss Bonnie, for being a part of us. And we will see you on our next trip. And we will talk to you. Hang around for just a minute. Let me talk to you about my trip.
Okay.